Federico Fellini never ceased to be amazed by people who ignored or were contemptuous of the enigma of human life on planet Earth. I once had the very bad idea of inviting Fellini to dinner along with friends of mine who were cultured dignitaries of the Partito Democratico Italiano, at the time still called the Italian Communist Party, before the Berlin Wall fell on it and the name was changed. After the dinner, these cultivated gentlemen, who very much wanted to meet the 5-time Oscar winner, out of the blue demanded that Fellini justify his close relationship with Gustavo Roll, a simple, private, and mysterious man able to convey an entire anthology of paranormal phenomena. Roll was a spiritual master introduced in the film you are about to see. Fellini instantly understood what these hardcore atheists were gunning for. He wisely asked them a question in turn. Tell me, gentlemen, how do you confront the mystery? Their silence was deafening. That put the kibosh on the evening, and at the door, the ever-ironic Fellini, always quick with a quip, said, looking around, "You have a delightful home. Too bad the guests were not." I still blush to this day to have subjected this unsurpassed artist, my friend, my beloved teacher, to such dopey, rude, insolent treatment. Fellini never hid his interest in the spiritual, the paranormal, other dimensions. As I went through the mountain of archival TV, print, documentary, and radio interviews Fellini did over 50 years of professional life, I was stunned to find that almost none of these journalists had ever asked him about his well-known attraction to these subjects. Gianluca Farinelli, the great champion of classic Italian films, suggests this was out of a misplaced sense of discretion and respect, as clearly that stuff was low-rent, woo-woo mumbo-jumbo. With Fellini of the Spirits, I hope to have ground a new lens through which to watch or rewatch the 24 films of Federico Fellini. Before watching them many times over in preparation for this film, I thought there were some I preferred over others. I have changed my mind. In my opinion, there is not one single movie of his that deserves neglect, even when perhaps the original inspiration missed its target. For example, with Juliet of the Spirits. His intention was to make an 8.5 for Giulietta Mazzina, his wife. He himself recognized, with his usual pith, that perhaps I pulled the covers too far over to my side of the bed. But even these less loved films, when closely observed, from the point of view of spirits, are absolutely enchanting, surprising for other reasons, other aspects, other dimensions. His films were deftly layered, only revealing their full depth when watched time and again. They are too rich, too full of inspired perceptions and unusual intuitions to divulge their secrets the first time. Not because they are hidden, just because they must be discovered, revealed, unveiled, like all transcendent knowledge. And don't be deceived by his irony. The deeper his feelings, the more ironic he got. I must thank my producers, Mad Entertainment of Naples, that is, Maria Carolina Terzi and Luciano Stella, who allowed me to use over half an hour of Fellini film clips and the extraterrestrial music of Nino Rota, the great Nino Rota, the most exorbitantly expensive of all archival movie material. My eternal gratitude also goes to Gérald Duchossois, programmer of the Cannes Film Festival, who chose our film for Cannes Classique, to Gianluca Farinelli of the Cineteca di Bologna for the outdoor screening in the magnificent Piazza Maggiore at Il Cinema Ritrovato Film Festival. Without them, this film might just have disappeared in this benighted year. Finally, I am wholeheartedly grateful to Valeria Rumori, director of the Los Angeles Italian Institute of Culture, for this prestigious screening in my hometown, a place that knows a thing or two about movies. Thank all of you in the audience for wanting to see Federico degli Spiriti, for it comes from my heart. It celebrates not just the greatest Italian film director, but the greatest movie director of all time. And that's not according just to me, but to the Cahiers du Cinéma, the French magazine, and I underscore French, that is the original Bible of auteur films. Stay safe, enjoy the show. Viva l'Italia, viva Fellini, viva il cinema.
Hello, my name is Luca Celada and I'm the correspondent for the Italian daily Il Manifesto from Los Angeles, as well as a member of the board of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association here. My first memories of Federico Fellini, like probably for many people of my generation, is of being taken to see one of his films, I believe Amarcord, by my mother, who was a huge fan, and most of it going over my head at the time, but really the memory of being immersed in the spectacle of images, of amazing colors and people, and experiencing his cinema that way. Now later, I would learn about his films at the UCLA Film School and how groundbreaking he really was, how he changed the conventions of filmmaking with the way he used dream imagery, how he broke timelines, how flashbacks would penetrate into the present, how really revolutionary he was from the point of view of the craft. Later, I would get to meet Il Maestro. It was 1986. I was just an intern at RAI, the national TV of Italy's bureau there, and a call went out for an interpreter for somebody coming from Italy. It was Federico Fellini on his press tour for Ginger and Fred, one of his later films, probably not his greatest, but still with Marcello Mastroianni and Giulietta Masina. And that was a revelation, of course. I found myself interpreting between Fellini and Elia Kazan, between Federico Fellini and Andy Warhol, who came and gushed about how he loved his work and, of course, how he modeled some of the people in his factory on the characters from his films. Later, I was working as a young journalist here in Los Angeles in 1993 when Fellini received his Academy Lifetime Achievement Award. It was the 5th Oscar of his career. And I remember him telling us in the interviews he would give us Italian correspondents here, how he would say that his career was like a train trip where he would sometimes pull into a station, get off the train, and walk around a town that he didn't know, wander in the streets and meet the people there. And these towns were his films. And lastly, after his death in 2005, I was here and was receiving, documenting the emotion, the amazing emotion, the outpouring of emotion for his passing from Hollywood, speaking to people like Paul Mazursky, Oliver Stone, David Lynch. And that really sealed my impression of how deep his influence was on cinema all over the world. Now, the film you're about to see, Fellini degli Spiriti, is, like director Anselma dell'Olio says, everything has been said and written about Federico Fellini. And yet she finds kind of a new angle, focusing on his spiritual side, his love of mystery, of fate, his interest in magic, in the I Ching, in having cards read to him, tarot cards, and in the sense of mystery and wonder that characterizes his oeuvre. It's a fascinating angle in which we discover, for instance, his deep, lifelong interest for Jungian psychoanalysis, for instance, for that space where religion and psychoanalysis meld and combine to say something about the lesser known parts of life, the ones that Fellini explored through his art in a wonderfully poetic and colorful and joyous way. You will see people like William Friedkin, Benigni, Terry Gilliam, Damien Chazelle talk about him, journalists and critics like Vincenzo Mollica and Gianluca Farinelli. It's a wonderful film in which, once again, this concept of the trip, and I go back to this idea of life as a train trip, comes back and really shows how Fellini's life was such an uncompromising, curious, wonderfully vital trip that we all were able to share in.